Welcome to Lost at 3 a.m. Put your phone down, close your eyes, and let this be the last video you hear tonight. Relax, breathe, and let's begin. There's a town, tucked away between the mountains and forests of the Pacific Northwest. A town where the coffee is always hot, the cherry pie is legendary, and secrets lurk beneath the surface, waiting to be uncovered. This is Twin Peaks, a place both familiar and deeply unsettling. A town frozen in time, caught between a dream and a nightmare. When Twin Peaks first aired in 1990, it changed television forever. What started as a simple murder mystery, the question of who killed Laura Palmer, quickly became something much stranger, something bigger than just a crime story. It was a world where detectives used dreams and riddles to solve cases, where time seemed to loop and fracture, and where the line between reality and the supernatural blurred until it disappeared completely. Created by David Lynch and Mark Frost, Twin Peaks wasn't just another TV show, it was an experience. It invited viewers to step into a world that felt both welcoming and deeply eerie, where everything was slightly off, slightly wrong, but impossible to look away from. It was a story of mystery, love, loss, and the darkness that hides behind small-town perfection. And yet, it was also funny, absurd, and strangely comforting. Tonight, we're diving deep into the world of Twin Peaks, its origins, its unforgettable characters, and the secrets that still linger in the woods, waiting to be uncovered. So grab a cup of damn fine coffee, listen to the wind through the trees, and let's begin. Before Twin Peaks became one of the most influential TV shows of all time, it started as a strange idea between two creative minds. David Lynch, a surrealist filmmaker known for Eraserhead and Blue Velvet, and Mark Frost, a writer with a knack for mystery and layered storytelling. The two had originally been working on a film about Marilyn Monroe's life and mysterious death, but when that project fell through, they found themselves drawn to a new idea. A story about a murder in a small town where nothing was as it seemed. At first, the show wasn't even called Twin Peaks. It was going to be Northwest Passage, named after the region in Washington state that would serve as its backdrop. But as the story developed, the town itself became more than just a setting. It became a character. Their concept was simple. A homecoming queen is found dead, wrapped in plastic, and the investigation slowly reveals that this seemingly quiet town is hiding layers of secrets, darkness, and surreal mystery. ABC, the network that picked up the show, wasn't quite sure what they were getting. It was nothing like the cop dramas and sitcoms that dominated TV at the time. But they took a chance, and what Lynch and Frost delivered was something completely different from anything audiences had ever seen. From the very first episode, Twin Peaks set itself apart. The slow, atmospheric cinematography, the haunting yet dreamlike music, the deliberately odd pacing. It felt like stepping into a dream that was beautiful, but slightly wrong. Lynch and Frost had crafted a world where every detail mattered. The flickering streetlights, the fog rolling over the mountains, the way characters spoke in long, deliberate pauses, as if they knew something they weren't telling you. It wasn't just a murder mystery. It was a journey into something deeper, something unknowable. And as soon as the question was asked, who killed Laura Palmer, the world was hooked. It all began with a body, wrapped in plastic, washed up on the shore, the body of Laura Palmer, homecoming queen, beloved by the town, the girl who was supposed to have it all. But as the town of Twin Peaks came to terms with her death, one thing became clear. Laura wasn't who they thought she was. Her murder wasn't just a crime, it was a key, unlocking secrets buried deep beneath the town's perfect surface. The question, who killed Laura Palmer, became one of the most famous mysteries in television history. It wasn't just about finding a killer, it was about peeling back the layers of an entire town. And the more Agent Dale Cooper and Sheriff Truman investigated, the more they discovered that everyone had something to hide. Laura had a double life. She was the perfect daughter, the star student, the girl everyone adored. But behind closed doors, she was trapped in a nightmare. Drugs, affairs, secret diaries, and a growing sense of dread, as if she knew that something was coming for her. And then there was Bob, a presence lurking in the shadows, a force of pure evil, something that felt too real to be imaginary, but too supernatural to exist in the real world. Was Bob a man? A spirit? Something even worse? At first, Lynch and Frost never planned to reveal Laura's killer. The murder was supposed to be the foundation of the show, a way to explore the town, its people, and the darkness beneath its surface. But network pressure forced their hand. Viewers wanted answers, and ABC wanted ratings. So in season 2, the truth was revealed. Laura Palmer's killer was Leland Palmer, her own father, possessed by the entity known as Bob. The reveal was shocking, disturbing, and heartbreaking. It wasn't just a murder, it was a tragedy, a story of abuse, corruption, and something much deeper than a simple whodunit. And after the mystery was solved, Twin Peaks was never the same. The thing that had held everything together, the question of who killed Laura Palmer, was gone. And without it, the show lost its central mystery, its purpose. But even though the case was closed, Laura Palmer's presence never truly left. Her story lingered, because Twin Peaks was never just about solving a crime. It was about the things we try to bury, the darkness we pretend not to see, and the ghosts that never stop haunting us. Every great mystery needs a great detective, but Twin Peaks didn't just give us a detective, it gave us Dale Cooper, one of the most fascinating and unforgettable characters in television history. Played by Kyle MacLachlan, Special Agent Dale Cooper wasn't your typical hard-boiled FBI investigator. He wasn't cynical or brooding. Instead, he arrived in Twin Peaks with wide-eyed wonder, a love for the simple things in life, and an almost supernatural intuition that set him apart from any TV detective before or after him. He didn't just investigate Laura Palmer's murder, he embraced the town, its people, and its strange, dreamlike energy. He found joy in the smallest details, whether it was the way the trees swayed in the wind, or the taste of a damn fine cup of coffee. And oh, the coffee. Agent Cooper's love for coffee was legendary. It wasn't just a drink to him, it was a ritual, a source of wisdom, a sacred part of his day. Black as midnight on a moonless night. Alongside his coffee obsession was his passion for cherry pie, particularly from the Double R Diner, where Norma served up slices of pure perfection. But Cooper was more than just a man who appreciated the little things. He was deeply intuitive, almost psychic, using dreams, symbols, and cryptic messages to guide his investigation. Instead of just following evidence, he trusted his subconscious. He believed that answers could be found in dreams, in riddles, in the movement of objects that seemed meaningless at first glance. His approach was inspired by Tibetan dream practices, something that set him apart from every other law enforcement figure on television. And yet, for all his charm and brilliance, Cooper was not invincible. He was drawn to Twin Peaks for a reason. He belonged there, but he didn't fully understand what he was up against. The deeper he went into the town's mysteries, the more he found himself caught in forces beyond his control. Because for all of Cooper's goodness, all of his optimism and brilliance, Twin Peaks had a darkness that even he couldn't escape from. And by the time his story reached its chilling climax, Dale Cooper was no longer the man we first met, but something else entirely. No town in television history has ever been as strange, quirky, and unsettling as Twin Peaks. It wasn't just the murder mystery or the supernatural forces lurking in the shadows. It was the people. The residents of Twin Peaks weren't just background characters. They were as much a part of the show's mystery as the Red Room or the Black Lodge. They weren't just odd for the sake of being odd. Each one added a layer to the town's eerie, dreamlike atmosphere, making it feel like a place that existed just on the edge of reality. Take the Log Lady, for example. Catherine E. Coulson's performance made her one of the most iconic figures in the show. She wasn't just some eccentric woman talking to a piece of wood. Her log had secrets, and she was the keeper of them. She spoke in riddles, offering cryptic warnings, and yet there was something deeply wise and tragic about her presence. She knew things that others didn't. Things about Laura Palmer, about the town, about what was coming. Then there was Dr. Jacoby, the eccentric psychiatrist with blue and red 3D glasses, who seemed more interested in conspiracy theories and personal obsessions than actually helping his patients. He was weird, unpredictable, and yet one of the few who truly understood that Twin Peaks was not what it seemed. And of course, there was the sweet but completely clueless police duo, Deputy Andy and Lucy. Andy was kind-hearted, but hopelessly naive, often breaking down in tears at crime scenes, while Lucy, the quirky receptionist at the sheriff's station, seemed to exist in her own little world of endless rambling conversations and coffee obsessions. But Twin Peaks didn't just have quirky characters, it had characters that haunted you, like the giant, who appeared in Cooper's dreams with cryptic warnings that somehow always came true. Or the one-armed man, a figure straight out of a nightmare, who spoke in riddles and seemed to know things no one else should know. And then, of course, there was Bob, the most terrifying presence in the entire show. A demon, a spirit, a hallucination. Whatever he was, his presence alone sent chills down spines. The way he moved, the way he appeared in mirrors, the way his face seemed to watch from the shadows. He was the embodiment of Twin Peaks horror. The residents of Twin Peaks weren't just oddballs. They were pieces of a puzzle that never fully fit together. Each of them held fragments of a bigger truth, one that was never meant to be fully understood. And that's what made them unforgettable. If Twin Peaks was just a murder mystery, it would have been strange enough on its own. But what made it truly legendary was the way it introduced something far more unsettling than just a killer, something beyond human understanding. At the heart of it all was the Black Lodge, a place that existed outside of time and space, hidden behind red curtains, filled with cryptic figures who spoke in riddles and moved in unnatural ways. It was a place where nothing made sense, where people aged in reverse, spoke backwards, and seemed to know things before they happened. It first appeared in Agent Cooper's dreams, where he found himself in a red-carpeted room, face to face with a small man in a red suit, the man from another place. He danced, he spoke in reversed phrases, and he told Cooper that Laura Palmer's killer was closer than he thought. And then, of course, there was Bob. Unlike anything else in television at the time, Bob wasn't just a villain. He was a force of pure, chaotic evil. He didn't just kill, he possessed, using human hosts to commit acts of horror. His true nature was never fully explained, but one thing was clear. He came from the Black Lodge, and he was not alone. The Black Lodge had a counterpart, the White Lodge. Referenced throughout the series but never fully explored, the White Lodge was said to be a place of peace, wisdom, and balance. The Black Lodge, on the other hand, was a place of pain and suffering, where spirits like Bob thrived, feeding off of fear and sorrow. And the most terrifying thing? The lodge could be entered from Twin Peaks. The entrance was hidden in Ghostwood Forest, a place marked by strange energy, mysterious disappearances, and an unnatural stillness. When Cooper finally stepped inside, he found himself trapped in a nightmarish loop where time had no meaning and nothing was as it seemed. Some believed the lodge was another dimension. Others thought it was a metaphor for the darkest parts of the human mind. But whatever it was, one thing was clear. No one left unchanged. And the deeper you went, the harder it was to find your way back. Some TV shows have great music. Twin Peaks. It had a soundtrack that was just as important as the mystery itself. From the very first note of Angelo Badalamenti's iconic score, Twin Peaks felt like stepping into another world, somewhere between a dream and a nightmare. The music wasn't just background noise, it was a character, shaping every moment, every emotion, every eerie pause. It started with Laura Palmer's theme, a haunting, melancholic piano melody that somehow captured everything about her character. It was beautiful and tragic, filled with longing, but beneath the surface, there was something darker, an unsettling sadness that lingered. Then there was Falling, the show's ethereal opening theme, sung by Julie Cruz. The soft, echoing vocals, the slow, drifting melody. It felt like being caught in a dream you couldn't wake up from. It wasn't just the theme song, it was Twin Peaks in musical form. But the music wasn't just eerie, it was strangely comforting too. The smooth, jazzy tones of the Double R Diner theme made you feel like you were sitting in a warm booth, sipping a damn fine cup of coffee, watching life move at its own strange pace. And then there was the Red Room music, a hypnotic, looping bass line that played in the Black Lodge, making every moment feel unreal, stretched out, and unnatural. It wasn't just unsettling, it was designed to make you feel lost, unsure of time, unsure of reality. David Lynch and Angelo Badalamenti didn't just create a soundtrack, they created a mood, a feeling, a soundscape that made Twin Peaks feel both inviting and deeply unsettling at the same time. It's why, decades later, the music of Twin Peaks is still instantly recognizable. Play just a few notes, and you're back in a small town where nothing is as it seems, where secrets hide behind every smile, and where the wind through the trees whispers something just beyond understanding. For a while, Twin Peaks was one of the biggest shows on television. It was mysterious, unpredictable, and completely unlike anything that had ever aired before. And then, just as suddenly as it rose to fame, it started to fall apart. The problem. The mystery of Laura Palmer was never meant to be solved. David Lynch and Mark Frost had created Twin Peaks with the intention of keeping Laura's murder as an open-ended question, a mystery that would fuel the show without ever needing a final answer. But the network had other plans. ABC pressured Lynch and Frost to reveal Laura's killer, fearing that audiences would lose interest if the case dragged on for too long. So, in the middle of season 2, they gave in. And with that, Twin Peaks lost its central mystery, the thing that had held everything together. After Laura's killer was revealed, the show tried to move forward with new plot lines, but nothing quite felt the same. The story lost its focus, introducing bizarre subplots like Ben Horne's Civil War obsession and the comedic misadventures of Nadine gaining super strength. Instead of eerie mystery, the show started leaning into quirky weirdness that didn't always work. Ratings plummeted, and by the time the second season neared its end, Twin Peaks was hanging by a thread. But then came the finale. With the show on the verge of cancellation, David Lynch returned to direct the final episode, and what he delivered was one of the most surreal, terrifying, and unforgettable endings in TV history. Agent Dale Cooper enters the Black Lodge, stepping into a world where time warps, doppelgangers lurk, and reality fractures beyond repair. The Red Room is more nightmarish than ever, filled with cryptic warnings, distorted speech, and a growing sense of inescapable doom. And then, in the show's final moments, the unthinkable happens. Cooper doesn't escape the lodge the same way he entered. Instead, Bob wins. The last shot of Twin Peaks is Cooper staring into a mirror, his reflection no longer his own. Bob grins back at him, laughing wildly, as Cooper repeatedly smashes his head against the glass, whispering one final chilling question. How's Annie? And then, darkness. It was an ending that left viewers stunned. It wasn't just a cliffhanger, it was a nightmare with no resolution, a door left open to something terrifying and unknown. And for years, that was the last we saw of Twin Peaks, until, decades later, it returned. And what came next? No one was ready for it. For 25 years, Twin Peaks remained one of the biggest unresolved mysteries in television history. Fans were left wondering, what happened to Dale Cooper? Was he still trapped in the Black Lodge? Was Bob still controlling him? Would the town ever be free from its haunting past? And then, in 2017, David Lynch and Mark Frost finally answered those questions. Sort of. They didn't just bring Twin Peaks back, they transformed it into something completely different. This wasn't just a nostalgia trip or a safe continuation of the old story. Twin Peaks, The return was bold, abstract, unsettling, and sometimes outright incomprehensible. Instead of a straightforward revival, Lynch delivered 18 episodes of surreal, slow-burning, reality-warping madness, the kind of television that wasn't meant to be understood, only experienced. The show picked up right where it left off, answering the decades-old question, where was Agent Cooper? The answer: he had been trapped in the Black Lodge all this time, a prisoner of forces beyond his control, drifting through time, unable to return to the real world. Meanwhile, his evil doppelganger, possessed by B.O.B., had been roaming free, causing chaos and destruction for decades. But instead of simply setting things right, Twin Peaks: The Return took its time, delivering long, slow scenes that tested audiences' patience, strange new characters that barely made sense, and some of the most haunting, hypnotic moments in TV history. One episode, Part 8, was particularly infamous. Instead of advancing the plot, Lynch took viewers on a nightmarish black-and-white journey back to 1945, depicting the birth of Bob inside the explosion of the first atomic bomb. It was abstract, experimental, and completely unlike anything that had ever aired on television. Even when Cooper finally returned, things didn't play out the way fans expected. Instead of a triumphant victory, we got one of the most cryptic endings in TV history. An ending that felt like a riddle, a broken loop, a question without an answer. In the final episode, Cooper steps into another timeline where Laura Palmer is alive but doesn't recognize her own name. He takes her home, to the house where she once lived. But something is wrong. Something isn't real. And then, in the show's last moments, Laura hears something. A whisper from beyond time. And she screams. Cut to black, no explanations, no easy answers. Just an unshakable feeling of unease, like waking up from a dream you can't fully remember. Fans debated the meaning of that ending for years. Was this another timeline? Was Cooper doomed to repeat his mistakes forever? Was Laura ever real? Lynch never explained, because Twin Peaks was never about giving answers. It was about creating a world that lingered in your mind, a story that felt like a dream you could never quite escape from. And after 25 years, that dream had only grown darker, stranger, and more powerful than ever. Some TV shows entertain, others tell a compelling story. But Twin Peaks? It did something else entirely. It changed television forever. Before Twin Peaks, most TV was simple, linear, predictable, designed for quick resolution. Then David Lynch and Mark Frost came along and proved that television could be surreal, cinematic, deeply mysterious, and completely unpredictable. The show blurred the line between dream and reality, comedy and horror, the ordinary and the supernatural. It gave us moments that felt like they belonged in another world, characters that felt real even when they made no sense, and a mystery that never fully unraveled, but never stopped haunting us. More than 30 years later, Twin Peaks is still discussed, analyzed, and rewatched. Every scene, every cryptic phrase, every strange visual cue, it all means something, even if we don't fully understand it. And that's the beauty of it. Because Twin Peaks isn't just a story, it's a feeling. It's the warmth of a damn fine cup of coffee, the sound of wind whispering through the trees, the distant hum of Angelo Badalamenti's dreamlike score. It's Agent Cooper's unwavering optimism, Laura Palmer's tragic beauty, and the haunting question, is it future or is it past? Most TV shows give answers. Twin Peaks gave us questions that never leave your mind. It left us with the feeling that somewhere, deep in the woods, something is still waiting. Something we were never meant to fully understand. And maybe that's why, even now, Twin Peaks hasn't faded into the past. Because some mysteries aren't meant to be solved. Thank you for spending your night with Lost at 3 a.m. Sweet Dreams, and we'll see you next time.